Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, My So-Called Healthy Life. Okay, so I posted a video a couple days ago about how to build confidence, 2 little tricks, those kinds of things. And you guys really seemed to like it, and a lot of people were super supportive of me doing like motivation and inspiration on this channel. So I'm gonna continue to do that. I'm actually putting a schedule together, and starting March 1st, I'm going to do a video every day about something inspirational, something motivational, some way to improve your life, some way to have the best life possible, how to deal with stressful situations in your life, those kinds of things. What I need from you guys, so that we can make this kind of an interactive process, is to put in the comment section below, and you can even just leave it one word. You don't have to get into it, but like grief or anxiety or, you know, changing jobs or what career path to go into or, you know, how to accomplish your dreams or whatever it is that you guys are wanting me to talk about. I am more than willing to address those issues. So I'm kind of putting a schedule together so that like maybe 2 or 3 videos in a row, 3 days in a row will kind of float together. Does that make sense? Like, you know, like let's talk about, you know, like setting limits and boundaries with family members and then shame and guilt associated with family members, things like that. So if that makes sense what I'm saying, I'm wanting to set a schedule together so it will make sense over the long run. So that almost kind of like when you're watching my videos, you're participating in some kind of workshop, if that makes sense. And yeah, and I want to make it as interactive as possible. A lot of you guys have emailed me with very personal stories. I appreciate it. A lot of you have said I could share your stories. A lot of you have asked me to keep those private. So I'm going to address those issues when I start making these videos specifically about those things. I'm also thinking about, because I got this recommendation for quite a few people, if 1 or 2 days a week I did like an advice day where you guys specifically email me an advice question. And I'm not talking about like really deep issues, but I'm talking about like just basic life issues. That I am thinking about doing an advice column day 2 days a week. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Okay, so let's get right into this video. One of the questions I get asked a lot is how to deal with negative or toxic people. I talk a lot in my videos about like removing negativity from your life, surrounding yourself with a tribe of people that are positive. I think that's super important. I think in your life, we're here for a very short period of time. So I think it's really important to, you know, surround ourselves with people that have our best interests at mind, that, you know, are supportive of us, and we can be as supportive of them as well. I believe in that we develop tribes of people around us, and that doesn't necessarily have to just be friends or family members. It can be teachers, it can be supervisors, it can be mentors, it can be role models, but people that we have similar interests in and we talk the same language, if that makes sense. In life, though, we often find ourselves having friendships or relationships with people that over a long period of time seem very negative or very toxic to us. So before I get into this video, I just want to read to you a paragraph identifying some signs and symptoms that I found online from Psych Central, which is a kind of, I wouldn't say it is an academic magazine, but I mean, it does address issues and cite sources that I think are important. And so one of the psychologists in there shared these signs of a toxic person, or how you feel like that person's in your life. When you feel emotionally affected by their drama, you dread or fear being around that person, you're exhausted or you feel angry while you're with them or after your interaction with them, and you feel bad or ashamed about yourself because of these feelings that you have towards these people. Now, I think that probably most of us have had at least one person in our lives like this, and a lot of us are probably going, am I a toxic person? Am I a negative person like that? And if you are, then we'll deal with that in other videos, and I'll do a whole series of videos on how to like remove toxicity from our own lives, how to be more positive people, because I think that that is like really at the heart of it, what life goals, life lessons, having the best life of that you can possibly have is about, you know, and starting your day. I'm a big believer that you can start your day over whenever you want. So if you're having a really negative day, you know, walking away for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or, you know, an hour or whatever and saying, okay, let me pull this together and let me see what I can do to restart my day. Let me find some gratitude. Let me make a quick, you know, 10-person, 10-thing gratitude list to kind of reassert my day. So if you're somebody that's asking yourself, am I a toxic or a negative person? That doesn't mean that your life is over and nobody wants to be with you. It just means that we have to alter your perspective, perception. your perspective of the world. Does that make sense? That you're probably somebody that sees the world as half empty instead of half full. And you know, having worked with addicts and alcoholics the majority of my life, that's typically the people that I work with, and I have myself been like that a lot of my life. So I have to work really, really hard at being a positive person. I know on camera, it probably seems like I'm like, la, 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 but a lot of things get me down. I get very passionate about things. I'm sure some of you guys have seen that in other videos. So let's reread these signs again, because I think they're very, very important, okay? This is how you know that you have a toxic person in your life. When you are emotionally affected by their drama. Now, what that means is that, like, when they're calling you up and they're telling you about a breakup or a job loss or whatever, like, you are taken with that. And I'm not just talking about being empathetic or being sympathetic, you know, and I'm talking about, like, becoming overwhelmed or almost kind of obsessed with what's going on in their life. You dread or fear being around them. This is the friend that calls you and asks you to do something all the time, or the family member, like it could even be your mother or your father, and you're like, God, I really don't want to see them. And then you do it anyway because you feel out of obligation. You don't want to be a bad friend or a bad family member, so you go and you do that thing anyway, right? When you have no obligation to do that. We're going to talk about setting boundaries in a second. You're exhausted or you feel angry while you're with them or after your interaction. Have you ever been with somebody that, like, literally just zaps your energy? Like, you're sitting there halfway through dinner and you're like, why did I come? Like, and typically these are people that only talk about themselves. They never ask you how they're doing, or they'll spend like 2 hours of a dinner like telling you how miserable their life is, and then in the last 30 seconds they'll go, and how have you been? And you're like, seriously, 2 hours? Like, could we have talked about, like, what I thought of, like, 50 Shades Darker? Which I haven't seen yet, I don't plan on it. But anyway, I mean, you know, like, it is just what it is, but it's like, have you ever known somebody like that that just drains your energy? And I've talked about this one here before, but, like, my mother was very much like that. Even as a sober woman, she was very negative much of her life. You know, and when I was there visiting with her, she would say, you don't come visit me very often. And when I wasn't there, she would say, you don't come visit me very often. And, you know, she just was never happy with me being there or not. You know, it just was like, mother. That's when you knew I was upset. I'd be like, mother. Because I never called her mother. But anyway, you know, and I remember that one time I sat there and I looked at her, and I actually shared this in another video. I said, I am not responsible for your happiness. And I was like, what did I just say? And she goes, what did you say to me? And I go, I'm not responsible for your happiness. I'm sorry that you're sad. I'm sorry that you're miserable with your life, but that's not my responsibility. And I'm not gonna move forward in my life feeling like that's my responsibility. And she said, do I make you feel that way? And I said, yes, okay? But I'm a believer that nobody makes you feel a certain way. You choose how you feel, okay? So if somebody in your life is making you feel like you're having to have them there out of obligation, or they're making you feel bad about the interaction or whatever, that's happening because you're choosing to have that person in your life. You're choosing to have them in your life at the capacity that they're in. You're choosing to not set boundaries and limits with them. So let's talk about this for a second. Years and years and years ago, I had a friend of mine that everything was always about her, and everything about her life, you know, was just always chaotic and drama filled. And at the time, I watched this episode of Oprah. You guys know I love my Oprah. And it was so strange, like serendipity kind of, you know, things that happen the times there's, like, I'm not a big believer in coincidence, okay? Do you ever watch a show or maybe even see this video at a time that you're like, oh my God, Peter's talking about this and this is totally applying to my life today, right? Well, you're the one I'm talking to today. It's for you, just like it was for me 20 years ago. And I had this friend, and just, she was totally toxic to my life, okay? Didn't respect my recovery, didn't respect my sobriety, was very negative towards me, always told me things about myself I needed to improve. I mean, it was just never fun, and I don't even know why I had her in my life. So I was watching this episode of Oprah, and in it, Oprah was interviewing this person that was like a self-help writer. I don't even know who it was, but they were talking about it's all right to say goodbye to friendships. That, you know, sometimes friendships run their course and there's no reason to still have that person in your life, okay? And I'm a big believer in, you know, that people come in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, okay? I'm sure you've probably heard that saying before. And I think you have to ask yourself a lot of times with this friendship, like, is there a reason that this person is in my life? Did I learn something from them? Did they come into my life for a season, like a period of my life? Like, you know, we were both like in our 20s together and partied and had fun and now that's over? Or are they there for a lifetime? Like, is this a friend, like my friend Tanya that I talk about a lot, that's gonna be there for a lifetime through it all, thick and thin, good and bad. We've had some fights, we've made it through, that kind of person, right? And I think you have to ask yourself, oh, drop my pen. I think you have to ask yourself, my kids, when I used to work in treatment, counted how many times I dropped my pen because I'm like, ADHD. But anyway, they used to count how many times I would drop the pen during group therapy. They would go like this. Anyway, so, I watched that show and it was so important to me because I have this really toxic friend in my life and I thought, she needs to go. Like, she's bringing me down and, but I do think it's fair to tell that person what they did and give them the opportunity to change, all right? So you don't just drift away from somebody. You don't just stop calling them. You don't just exit out of their life and leave them wondering. And this has happened to me on many occasions that people have done this to me. And I'm sure it might have had something to do with my being negative. I don't know. But where people just stopped calling and when I would text them or call them, they didn't respond. And I'm like, what happened? Like, we were such good friends and now they're gone. And it hurt, right? So out of respect for how I felt, when somebody is very negative in my life, typically what I say to them is, I'm sorry you're going through this really hard time. I wish I could do something to change it, but you're not seeing the gratitude and the positivity in life. It's really bringing you down and it's bringing down around the people around you. Is there something that I can do to help? Because I can't be around this, right? Because and I always say, because I'm a negative person, I can be pulled into negativity very quickly. If they say, do you really think that's the case or what? I'll say, yeah, maybe you need to go see a counselor. Maybe you need to go find a life coach or a therapist or somebody to talk to, or maybe you need to talk to your family physician or a psychiatrist. I typically always recommend a psychiatrist about looking at some antidepressants or something. I don't know, but do something, okay? Start working out, eat different. I don't know, something, because baby, you're bringing me down, okay? If I've said it once and I've said it twice and they don't listen, at that point, then I just remove myself and I just exit from their life. And if they ask me, I'm like, yeah, I'm busy, I'm sorry, then I kind of do make them excuses because they're really not hearing it anyway. And really what that's saying is those people really are selfish and don't care how they affect you or anybody else. And they don't really care that their misery or their negativity affects anybody in their life. They're so self-centered, they don't want to change, all right? But I have had through the course of my life a lot of friends. I actually just had a friend the other day text me and she said, I really want to change. I'm so tired of being this miserable. And I think, I've had a lot of people that have said that to me through the years. And when you're open to that and you're the friend that's willing to be there and listen to them, people will ask for your help. You're their friend, And so maybe a toxic person in your life, you can help them not be toxic. But it is okay to say goodbye to friendships. I said goodbye to this friendship and I swear to you, it was the strangest thing. Flash forward 20 years or something like that, and so much had happened in both of our lives, and this person re-entered my life, and I was okay with it. Enough time had passed. I knew that we were never gonna probably be that close again, and it was okay. And this person has changed drastically. I mean, they are very positive. Everything about their life is positive. I don't even know that if I said something to them about leaving their life 20 years ago that they would even recognize how negative they were at that time. And that's okay. Their life is better for it. So sometimes I have to remember that maybe I am part of the lesson for people and that I remember when I got sober, I had a good friend of mine, my friend Peggy, said to me later, she just exited my life. And she said to me before she did, she said, your life is going down the drain and I cannot be part of it. And the only consequence I have to help you with is by not being part of your life anymore. And she was gone, right? She was the only friend that was willing to say something to me about my drinking and my drugging. She was the only friend that was willing to say something to me. And I hated her for it. I was so mad for the longest time. I was like, fuck her, but then when I got sober, it was probably 10 years ago, I reached out to her and I was like, you're the only person that cared enough to say something to me. You're the only one that cared enough to say to me, you're negative, you're down, you're damaging your life, you're hurting yourself. She cared enough. God love her for that. Those are the people that really make a difference and really care and are really loving in life. But like I said, it's okay to remove people that are toxic from your life. It's also okay to set limits and boundaries with family members. Family members are very difficult a lot of times, I think, because we feel an obligation for that. But if you're gonna go to Thanksgiving and it's just gonna be toxic, crazy drinking and yelling and screaming, tell them, say, you know what, we have something else that we made a commitment, we can only be there from 4 to 5. You don't owe them any excuses. You don't owe them anything, okay? You just don't. If your parents are really negative, I think sometimes it's easier to say to parents, you're really negative, all the time. What's the deal? You didn't used to be this way. And if there's somebody that's always been that way, say, Mom, I love you, but like I'm trying to improve my life and you're just bringing me down. You don't love me anymore. I love you so much. That's why I'm saying this to you, okay? Because I want to be a part of your life. I can't be if you're going to continue to say these things. Fear keeps us from saying those things to people because we're so worried about hurting their feelings. We're so worried about what we're going to say. But let's never forget that we can say things to people in a nice, compassionate, and loving way, okay? So, identify toxic people in your life. Figure out, am I one of those toxic people? It doesn't mean everything's over. We'll fix that. We'll make you a positive, happy person, okay? Life's not over. Your life might be 10 times better now that you've identified. Awareness is the first key to everything, okay? Being aware of who you are is really the beginning identifier to change and having the most miraculous life that you can possibly have. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it's okay to say goodbye to friendships, and that includes work friendships and family relationships and what. It's okay to say goodbye to that, all right? You're not a bad person because you want to do that. And the third thing is that, it's okay to set limits and boundaries with people. Just remember that. You're not responsible for somebody else's happiness. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to leave in the comment section below what you want to hear about and follow my daily vlog. My car vlogs on there, I am like talking about all kinds of life lessons. So I love you guys so much and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.